Hi guys, how's it going? I am Christy and it's lunch hour and I will be drawing, don't worry. But I'm here to have two special guests on for Elves of Isildur. They have done other books and other things, and I will let them talk about all the things. But they are in the last 29 hours of their Kickstarter. They have funded, but please do it because you'll get a great book, great set of books. So here's Matt Niles and Steph Cannon. I've known them for a period of time, and they're really cool people. So yeah, go ahead and talk a little bit more amongst yourselves, and I will pop the Kickstarter in a minute.
Sweet. All righty.
So my name is Matt Knowles. I am one half of Insymmetry Creations. You'll learn about the other half in probably 12 to 28 seconds. We are currently, our Kickstarter that is on Kickstarter right now is for Heirs of Isildur, The Perilous Prospects, books 1 through 3. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means in just a little bit. We've got multiple titles we've done. We've got Tales from Nocturnia, Misfits Clubhouse, which is on Scout Comics. We did I Am Keto, which is the fictional Far East offshoot from Heirs of Isildur. Think Mortal Kombat and Soul Calibur meets Mad Max. But for now, we're talking about Heirs of Isildur. So I will now turn this over to the other half of Insymmetry Creations. That's down here somewhere. There she is. She's right there.
That's me. That's Steph Cannon. And like Matt said, we are comic creators. But we also do a whole lot of other stuff that we can probably chit-chat about later on after we talk about our campaign. Matt's a panel host and an MC and has gotten the opportunity to interview a bunch of really cool, awesome celebrities, and which by proxy I get to meet, which is always a fun little perk. But I am also a film reviewer and a columnist for Fangoria, Creepy Kingdom, Horror Buzz, Horror Geek Life. Horror is my jam. I love talking about it. I love watching horror movies and critiquing them. So we're just kind of all over the place.
Yeah. And so let me go ahead without much further ado. I'm going to go and pop up this guy. So I'm going to go share it. Sorry, I'm being ridiculous right now because for some reason. So here we go. This is Heirs of Isildur. Let me turn off this thing so we can see Stephanie's lovely face. So what it is that, so here's Elves of Isildur. And let me go and see if I can play the video. I haven't tested it out on this rig quite yet, but let's play that video for you.
Cool.
Okay. So as a quick thing, Matt is involved in the heavy metal scene. So is this your music that you guys are doing?
100% it is. When we first started the campaign, we only had a 15-second music teaser. We just did a 15-second video. We kind of made a joke about it because we're like, this is the shortest campaign video in history. It was just a quick little teaser. As the campaign went on, we put the full video up there. I don't know if you can see, but I'm wearing one of our glow-in-the-dark shirts, and it's absolutely glowing in the dark right now while we're sitting on this live stream. That's pretty cool.
See if I can make you bigger. Let me bigify you. Hold on. I have 3 monitors, so my mouse got lost momentarily. So let's see here. Oh, hold on. Trying to see which one. Okay. Let's try to bigify. Let's put you here. Okay, let's bigify. There we go.
You can see there's some green going on. That's because this shirt glows in the dark. This is our Soul Ripper shirt.
It looks really awesome when it's actually really glowing.
Soul Ripper shirt from I Am Keto. And we made them glow in the dark because that's cool as heck. And that's what we got. Yeah, I just noticed I'm trying to talk about the video and I'm getting distracted by my own shirt. So
well, hey, do they get the shirt in the Kickstarter at all?
It absolutely is in the Kickstarter for sure. We do have the ability for you to get the shirt in the Kickstarter as well. The video, the music in there is part of a new song that is going to come out with the campaign when the issue comes out. It's the first new direct Heirs of Isildur song since the last full album we did a few years ago. We did do a couple of songs for I Am Keto, but this is the first song that directly relates to Heirs of Isildur. So yeah, the video, the music, all that all came right from our team.
There you go. There's a shirt, guys. You better go get it because of the fucking second shirt right there. Wow, you get a lot of stuff with that. So you got socks.
You got a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So one of the things we talked about before we got on, we know the economy has been crap. We know that there's been a lot of struggles, and there's been a lot of things we've done that we thought were really cool, and people even thought were cool. They just didn't have the money to be able to do anything about it when we had some previous campaigns. So we wanted to make sure that anything that was cool in a previous campaign, that people had the ability to easily pick it up in here. So we've got 2 new shirts in this campaign, and we've got a reissued pair of socks that have been sold out for quite a while, but people kept asking us if we were ever going to have them again. So we're like, you know what? We'll just reissue those. Everything you see there in that add-on graphic is something that was available in a previous campaign, but we wanted people to easily have the ability, if they missed the Dual Serpent shirt from I Am Keto, or the Soul Ripper Glow in the Dark shirt, or the collectible colored vinyl, or even the Bruce McTutherson socks from Misfits Clubhouse. We wanted to give people an easy way to get those. We made tiers. There's a tier that's literally just 5 pairs of socks called Sakatumi. Like, you can get a digital issue or physical copy of the issue, and then every pair of socks we've ever made. You could get 5 different shirts if you wanted it. You're like, you know what? You never know who might come in and be like, I'm not sure what I think about your story, but I want some clothes.
And it happens. There's sometimes when we're at shows that people come up to our booth and they're interested in the stories, but they're like, you know what, that shirt is really cool, or I like those socks and I'm wanting some socks. And we're like, hey, you know what, that's totally fine, because that's a constant reminder when they go home of our stories, and they may later eventually go and buy the story itself because they're just looking at that item all the time.
And that looks like these are all Kickstarter exclusive. Like, you guys, you got to pick it up. You got to pick it up. And even though if some stuff is not Kickstarter exclusive, the fact is that there's that extra attention on it. So you might get things, or like sometimes during my kick, I'm not saying you guys have to do this, or if you don't do it or whatever, but like sometimes like we feel a little generous and we'll just throw a sticker in because we say, fuck it. We just want to go give you something. Now, I'm not saying you guys don't do that or anything, but it's like always catch us during a Kickstarter, even though if Kickstarter is like, oh, well, I can buy it at the store. It's like, but it's not special like the Kickstarter, guys. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things we do is we do post-campaign incentive drawings. The earlier you back a campaign, the more opportunities you have to potentially have more swag added to your bag. So like, people that were in the first 50 got put onto a list, and they get put onto every list. So it's not like you've backed in the first 50. It's only going to be that top hat, so to speak. Right. Those people might be in 4 different ones. And if your name gets picked all 4 times, then you clean house and you get everything. We've given away things from foil covers to metal trading cards, trading card sets. The last campaign, we were just in a mood, and we had some leather gauntlets that our leather workers had made for us. And we actually gave somebody something that if it was on our table at a show, would have sold for $100.
Oh,
and
shit.
We gave some,
not to interrupt, they're almost at 4K. So you fucking need to go and put them to 4K. Remember I said
love to see that 4K.
Yeah.
So
throw that sticker.
So one of the things that we do, and we do this on every campaign, is that in the last 48 hours, and we are clearly into the last 48 hours right now, in the last 48 hours, anybody that's a new backer or anyone that's already a backer that increases their pledge by even $1 gets added onto another list. So we don't want somebody that backed early to be like, well, that sucks that, I backed early and now I can't be on that list at the end of the campaign. You throw an extra buck at the campaign, you get on the list as well. We give people an incentive to want to continue to participate at the end. And we have a lot of fun doing that.
Right. So it's like, there you go, guys. I mean, like I just said, oh yeah, we creators like we'll throw in, and there you go at 4K, which they're not far. Like you guys are at 3,800 about, right? 30,000.
Yeah, we can easily hit 4K if you guys.
Yeah, it's totally doable. Guys, go do it. Come on. Here's our link. Yes, do the thing. And I'll periodically spam my area for their link because it's 30 hours left. Come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah. We're in the home stretch. We're in the final stretch. And that is an interesting time when you're running a Kickstarter because it can be crickets or it can be, an avalanche of people coming in or somewhere in between. But either way, it is very nerve-wracking as a creator those last few hours, because it's exactly that. Okay, I'd love to see 4K. Okay, now we're at 4K. I'd love to see 4200. Can we get to 4200? It's kind of like an auctioneer, you know?
Right.
So, and it never ends. But of course, we want all the support, because we're proud of these stories. We want these stories in people's hands. That's the biggest thing. It's not just how much money can we make. It's how many people can we get our stories out to, so that they can enjoy what we do and hopefully come back when we do the next campaign.
I mean, shit, you guys, they have vinyl. Come on, they have everything.
I know.
These people, like two
different colors,
and they've got one hell of a get up, guys. If you've seen them at a con like I have personally, they have a fucking get up. So come on, you know, like they're
so. The way that I describe the way that it is evolved, because it used to be full steampunk, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I can't keep wearing corsets and like uncomfortable boots for 10-hour show days. It's just not, it's not feasible. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we won't do it from time to time, especially if we're at like a full-on steampunk show. But it has evolved into like, what I say is like 1980s grandma's couch. It's just like whatever the craziest pattern we can find, we're gonna wear it, and we pull it off. And because we're wearing it together, and we're wearing like the same shirts, and we're matching, and we're so opposite. Like Matt's 6'3" and I'm 5'2", and he's like this, you know, bearded guy, and I'm just like this, you know, like small, like
tiny little sprite that could fit in a thimble.
Yeah, so it's just kind of comical. And it's like kind of our shtick now, and it's fun, and we embrace it, because neither one of us would ever wear the things we wear at a show any other time. Like, we're not going to go to the grocery store and the stuff that we wear. So it's just specific to the show.
But I will say this: when we've worn we have
gone to the grocery store in those outfits.
We went to one time. We did a show, and we went to Firehouse Subs afterwards, and we were still in our shirts.
Yeah.
And the number of people that had to come up and have a conversation with us about
it gets attention, because people are like, what are you guys doing?
Well, and here's the thing.
It's like Matt can pull off something like that, but if they see me in one of those crazy shirts, like, what is this chick doing? And there's been times we've gone to the grocery store after to get, if we're at like an Airbnb or something, and people are like, well, but it's always a positive thing. They're always like, hey, cool shirts or whatever. Like, I love your getup. What's going on with it?
They'll see the two of us. They'll see the two of us, and they'll be like, okay, there's got to be something intentional about it. This isn't just some dude that just found some shirt. There's
hopefully that's not our going to the grocery store outfits.
Two people intentionally doing this. There's got to be a reason for this. So they'll come up and talk to us, whether it's at a show or at the restaurant. And
which is fun. I embrace it. It's fun.
I mean, guys, they like, instead of the standard covers, they got metal covers too. Come on.
We do.
We've actually got a tier we got a tier at the very bottom of the campaign. That if somebody was like, I'm the biggest metal cover collector in the world. We've got a tier that's got 18 different metal covers in it.
Right.
18 metal covers.
I mean, guys got to look at it. They got a lot of shit, and it's actually very cool shit. And it's kind of funny because for steampunk, and I don't take this the wrong way, and for metal, it's very rainbow colored. It's very colorful. Usually it's like we're brown, we're like this, we've got gold. Not that gold isn't pretty or silver isn't, but it's like this very industrial look, you know, like how goth is supposed to look, all like fucking black. By the way, also, I want to just say, as like sort of a metal nerd, and I'm not a huge metal nerd, but it's funny because stylistically the music, at least the sample that I heard, kind of reminds me of King Diamond. So either you hate me or love me for saying that, but it's like, you know, that whole like really orchestral, like
keyboard,
you know, like how they kind of go down the front.
He loves the good choir and all that in his stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if you do the screaming, but it's like,
I do.
Like that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's like, because it was weird because like they did Demon Bitch, and I'm not by any means hijacking your stuff, but when they did Demon Bitch, Spike Steffenhagen, who writes like for bands like Opeth and shit like that, in terms of comics. Yeah, he came up to me and said, "Can I put Demon Bitch in it?" Said sure, and the King Diamond one was funny.
That's cool.
So.
Yeah, if you have somebody that writes for Opeth that's like, can I do anything with you? The answer should always be yes. So that's actually super cool.
Yeah, and Spike is like a really cool dude. Like, he's very nice. So it's like, he loved Demon Bitch, but you can talk to him. He's got the sarcastic ass look. You totally tell he's a metalhead, long hair, like with the tats and shit. And he's like, hey, what's up? And but he's like one of the sweetest, most lovable guys. Like a lot of people that actually are into like hardcore heavy metal music or metal music, like most of those guys are just nice, you know. They're very
It was such a surprise to me, being somebody that didn't know a lot about metal, wasn't exposed to a lot of metal until I met Matt, and now I'm a fan too. And that was one of my biggest shocks and surprises, is that metal musicians are like the happiest, calmest, nicest dudes. Because they get it all out on stage. And so that's like I don't know, maybe it's their therapy or something, because outside of that, off the stage, they are the chillest, nicest people that you'll ever meet. And that's what I love about it.
Well, it's funny because like when people went up to me for Demon Bitch, there have been a handful of fans that said, "Oh, I thought you'd be meaner."
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why would I be mean to you? Like, I mean, I have a
know.
comic, but it's not like I rage at people unnecessarily. I actually, I mean, you guys have met me. I'm like, not really. I don't know. But
You're completely opposite. That's what I love, though. That's how it should be. You have like a persona or a brand that you are working on, and then it doesn't have to reflect your personality or your day-to-day, how you are.
Well, and the thing is too, that like we do a lot of conventions in the horror genre, and we've seen the exact same thing come
horror
out.
People are very much the same way.
Yeah, we've seen the same thing come out of the horror genre, where
Yep.
people have this preconceived notion, and I can understand when you're dealing in, you know, slasher films and films that are based around gore and things like that. There's a preconceived notion that the people that are behind it are going to be messed up in the head. And we're not going to say that there's not people that aren't, but there's people that are messed up in the head in all industries. And some of the coolest people that we have ever met, that I've ever taken the stage with during a panel, during an interview, have been people at horror conventions. Interviewed the three teenage boys from the It movies. And they were some of the nicest, most well-rounded, well-respected people you'll ever meet. I got to do a panel with Alex Winter, who was in Lost Boys and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I completely nerded out on that one. You know, I've done panels with people like Twisted, and you look at Twisted, you're like, these guys are going to be messed up.
And they were the nicest dudes. They were like, so nice.
You're like, I could do a panel with Twisted for 3 freaking hours. I did a panel with Seth Green. That panel, like, we had to like forcibly cut the panel down because, you know, we could have gone on for hours.
And just super nice dude.
Yeah. You can't judge a book by its cover. Just because a certain type of entertainment is made, you can't say that because that's what the entertainment is, that the creator behind it is going to echo the exact sentiments. I'll tell you right now, if people look at I Am Keto, which we talked about earlier, and look at the things that we had to do to some of the characters, because it's fantasy horror, and that story follows a character named Keto, no surprise there, who gets pulled into a portal in the first issue of the Perilous Prospects book 1. And when Steph and I started to write that story, we were like, this is going to be maybe 10 to 12 pages. And it's just going to be like an extra piece that's going to be in the trade paperback version for this arc. And as we started writing it, we're like, there's so much more meat on this bone. And we really developed the characters. And there's some characters in there that we had to really, like, I remember the number of conversations that we literally out loud were like, do we really want to do this? Do we really have to do this? And one of the tenets was Keto, when he comes through the portal, he's seen tragedy happen in his land. And he's like, I'm the last one. I'm the last person that came through. The last person. I've seen everybody perish. And so we knew we had to make sure that we built these characters up in a really good way so that when that happened, it had emotional meaning. We couldn't just like make them cardboard cutouts and be like, hey, Christy, you're going to care that this person dies. Why? Because we said so.
Yeah.
You know, we had to make sure you actually really cared about that character so that when
always
something
annoys me with stories and movies is when there's a character death and you can tell that they're just doing it just for emotional impact, like, you know, falling in slow-mo off a cliff or something. It's like, okay, that's fine as long as there's a legitimate reason and, you know, for their death, no matter what it may be. But you can just tell when you watch something, you're like, they're killing them off just to make somebody cry, and there needs to be a little bit more than that. You can make them cry, but like there should be a reason.
Well, that's why I kind of wish they killed off Jar Jar Binks in the first Clone Wars. Not the Clone Wars. I don't care, but anyway, those ones. But it was just like, it was amazing because like when not A New Hope, what was the prequel? I forgot. Like,
Phantom Menace was the first one.
Phantom Menace, that's it.
And then Clone Wars, and then Revenge of the Sith. So
Yeah. Okay. So like I did watch one of them. So it's like when it actually premiered in the movie theaters, and it was actually kind of cool at the time, but it was amazing because like actually because of that type of character, somebody actually did a website called frickin' um, JarJarSucks.com. I think it's dead now, but they like wrote these long fantasies of how they wanted Jar Jar to die. Like, you know, when he stuck his head between the pod racer, you know,
right,
pod racer
yeah,
engines,
he
I
was,
wish his head
yeah.
would have exploded like an egg in a microwave to like, oh, I want him to be
He went
dragged
through-
like from the bus to, you know, when the
He went
rope
through
got
one of the weirdest character transformations ever between Phantom Menace and Clone Wars, because in Phantom Menace he's like a bumbling idiot, and then he turns into a member of like the Senate. He grows, which is great. You want a character arc, but it just felt forced and contrived. But you know,
or it's like they
there's
probably
people
were.
that love Jar Jar and think that he's the best character ever because of that, because he grows and learns, which I can kind of see merit in. But yeah, it was weird.
Well, it was also like you realize maybe Jar Jar was that young. Like that's why he was doing stupid crap all
Yeah.
the time. You know, he looked like an adult, but then he actually became an adult later on. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, he's a Gungan and he's an alien, and you could kind of
Yeah.
throw the things out the door. Okay,
I mean,
maybe
we've all been there. We've all been there. We've all done stupid stuff and learned from that and grown. So if people were to look at our lives, probably would be a little similar.
jackass. So it's like I got to say that, but yeah, but
yes, exactly.
now, if you guys want to hear the, I'm not going to play it because I don't know if Facebook will strike me later. But guys, go to the Kickstarter. You can play the samples of music. You might be going, oh yeah, like I grew up with this pain. So if this dates me, whatever. But I remember buying a whole album, and then I liked one song, and the rest of the song was shit. The rest of the album was shit. So if you have that fear, I'm not saying it's happening, guys, but so far what I heard is very quality music. But go play all this stuff and get a sample and a feel of. And Matt, what is your band? Like, what is your band?
So I just play. So everything is played through Heirs of Isildur. So there's actually when Heirs of Isildur started, it was going to be a metal music project that had a side story as well to expand out what was happening in the music. And the side story turned into an ebook, turned into an illustrated novel, turned into a comic series, and that couple of songs turned into full albums. So if you were to like go onto Spotify, you're literally going to look up Heirs of Isildur, and that's where you're going to see the music. And that's why the name is what it is, because as a musician, a lot of bands will take their names from Lord of the Rings lore. And I mean, you've got Amon Amarth, Morgoth, Cirith Ungol, tons and tons and tons of bands have taken their names from that lore. And so it started off and the name was taken for the music, and then it was converted and kind of morphed into being over top of the comics as well. And to your point about songs and albums, we've released 2 full albums, but what we're doing right now is, you know, we did a Misfits Clubhouse, you know, theme song jingle, and it was there. For I Am Keto, we did a song, and then we did the orchestral version where we stripped out every bit of metal instrumentation, no vocals, drums, guitar, bass, and just left the keyboards, violins, the Far Eastern instrumentations like the erhus and things like that, so that way people could hear the orchestral version of it. And we are probably going to just, you know, go single for single, and then once we get 6, 7, 8 songs, maybe write a couple more. And then if somebody wants a physical media version of it, then they can have it. But it's going to be mostly songs that they've heard and have already had focus points out there. So you don't run into what you just said, where there's one great song and then the rest. I mean, this is not the era for people, especially where we're at, to go and spend the money to put 10 songs together for an album and then go try to sell an album and make something work from there. Most people are just going to their one song on their that they like and throwing it on their Spotify list and going from there, or on their YouTube list and go from there. So we just want to make sure we make really good songs, hopefully, and people put it on their Spotify list from there.
Yeah. So you guys go on, look at all their stuff, look at all these things right here. And, you know, they've got a lot of stuff. I mean, you can't just say no to any of this stuff. And they're in their last, what is it? 30 hours, roughly 29 hours to go.
Less than 48.
Yep.
Let's see if okay, stop doing that Kickstarter. You're making me
Yeah, that's weird about the delimiter
Being
thing
weird.
there. We
weird.
promise you that delimiter is not a part of our campaign.
Kickstarter's
Yeah.
having a day. It's okay. We all have them.
Well,
it's all right.
LinkedIn
It's
is
okay.
having a day. We're not able to broadcast to LinkedIn right now. I saw that
Yeah.
a note on there. So, but yeah, it's 3,828 guys. Jump on there. I'm going to spam it occasionally in here, the link. So you guys got to check it out. Okay. and it's shared across the Indie Comics Network as well as my own network. So, I mean, I don't have a network, but you get one, maybe my social media. So you guys are going to go and have to take a look at that stuff and just go, great. Oh, wow. Dan Plegel, Boob Dan Art. He's one of the sweetest guys. One of my biggest fans.
Boob Dan
He said,
Art. Thank you.
yeah, he did this. He's
I'm
the
literally going to
sweetest
say it
guy.
like that because I just want to be able to say it. But thank you, Boob Dan Art.
Boob Dan Art. He is one of the nicest guys. Sweet family
That's
guy.
amazing.
He's one of the sweetest people in the world.
I love
But
it.
yeah, he's going to share it out there and everything. So it's like, yeah, so a lot of people really just like, we love to support each other on that stuff. So let me go ahead and get out of this and go to a drawing thing and all that. So what kind of got you guys to, what started Heirs of Isildur anyway?
So it started, I was a metal musician for many years. I played in a band that toiled in the underground, and it just, I got tired of being in that realm. I was burnt out, and I just kept writing in the background, even though I didn't want to do anything with it. I just would have an idea and then would kind of go from there. About 7-8 years later, I finally got off the schneid and started writing the music that was there. The reason for the steampunk side of things was the first songs that I started writing. Even though I was into the steampunk aesthetic, I thought it was cool. But the first few songs I wrote for Heirs of Isildur, I was going back to older things that I had written that never saw the light of day, and I was moving around lyrics and repurposing or taking a piece out. And I felt like my life was kind of a living example of what steampunk is. Because you think about steampunk and you're like, oh, they're talking about the future, but they're using stuff from Victorian era as the future technology. And so I kind of felt like that was where Air's origin was. So it adopted the literal steampunk aesthetic in what we do. One of the things I will say is Heirs is definitely not, as Steph alluded to earlier, it's not something that is stuck in we have to be Wild West Victorian, we have to be, Victorian era steampunk kind of thing.
Which we still love, but we're just evolving.
Yeah, we are 100% about, there's sci-fi involved in it. There's portals that are there that are opening and bringing people from other eras into this story. So when you've got a samurai that's coming from basically like a feudal Japan, or you've got someone coming from the future that when these people that think they're all about technology see someone with a cell phone and they're blown away by this thing that they have, or somebody from that used to be in jail and they bring this kind of jail toughness, or medieval times, or a medieval king. We open up the ability for us to include whatever the heck we want to in these stories, because maybe they just came through with the portal. Maybe it's kind of like it was in the movie The Village, where in The Village, you see this entire movie is taking place in this closed environment. And then you see at the end of the movie that outside of this closed environment, that it's just normalcy. That's not what's happening here. But we say earlier on in the previous story arc that when one of these portals opened, that some energy is pulled through and it caused some changes in the environment around this town of Shadow's Haven. So maybe Shadow's Haven has developed a little bit differently than the rest of the world at large. And we do get to see a little bit of that in the previous story, that Shadow's Haven is not like how the rest of the world is. Mm-hmm. So we leave ourselves the freedom to have a lot of fun with things. We can do whatever the heck we want to do, and we obey the rules of our universe, and we don't go outside of those, and we feel good about it.
Mm-hmm. So I see in the chat they were asking for our Spotify link. So I don't know if you want to throw up some links. She said she found it, but I want to make sure that we have go
ahead and put it in the private chat. I'll go ahead and pop it out there.
Okay.
So by the way, I'll throw out the Kickstarter link again. Yes. That's why I say private chat, because that's my copy paste localization.
Just didn't want to get that lost. Okay.
So here's what we'll do.
Okay. Yeah, just label it as the Spotify link in caps so that people will differentiate. I mean, I know people can read, but it's one of those things like we're a point and click society now. So
yeah.
We're going to throw the link to Bandcamp as well in here, because that's where we got.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. Bandcamp, all that stuff. YouTube, everything. We've got a lot of links.
There you go.
But yeah.
Oh, I'll also put it in the private chat, because I could copy paste and share it throughout all the social media at once, so that people on that. And also Dan said he shared it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You,
so that
Dan. I'm just going to call him that from now on. That's going to be his name. because
Yeah,
it's fun
and
to say.
Dan's sweet. Yeah, I just say boob Dan art sometimes to be funny, and he gets it.
Yeah,
He's like a total family man. That's the funny thing. It's like,
of course, that's always how. Yeah, that's
yeah. I mean, actually, how he started doing, if you look at his artwork, how he started, it was a really funny story. I'll let him tell that one of these days. But he's like the sweetest guy in the world. Like, sorry, Dan, I'm ruining your reputation for you.
So yeah, we won't tell anybody except for who are watching right now.
No, Dan is a total like ladies' man asshole. Come on, There you
There we go. That's more like it.
there you go, right there. So guys, go ahead and check out
There
their.
we go.
But you
That
know
should
what?
be
Support their
pretty.
Kickstarter first, and then go and look at their band links because there's that. Hey guys, you're introducing me to a bunch of new shows. Yeah,
Shadowpunk, we've seen you on another show recently.
Oh
A
yeah,
couple of them, yeah.
right. So yeah, I'm really happy about how it's going, really personally, because it's like, yeah, you're getting a lot of interaction here. I'm pretty sure somebody will have to somebody would. I mean,
That's what we're hoping for. That's
yeah,
what we're
Dan's a
hoping
great supporter in general. Like if he doesn't actually back, he'll share, and he'll just will do it. But yeah, guys, if you throw him $1, hey, get him to 3,828 so that you get that free sticker too on all physical backers.
So one of the things we like to let people know too is that the books that we have, especially in Heirs of Isildur, they're all perfect bound. I'll actually, here's you can see right there that they're all perfect bound. They got a nice spine on there, so that way you can
Let me see.
put them on your bookshelf. And
there we go. Oh, sorry. What did I do? Oh no. Okay.
Still here. There we go.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so that way you can see that we make sure they're nice, well put together books, so that when you put them onto your bookshelf, they're going to display nice against all the rest of the books you have there. We always try to make sure that there is something where we don't want the IP to stop when you put it on the shelf. There's QR codes in the book if you want to be able to, listen to the music, see the lyrics that help expand out different parts of the story. Some people don't want that. Some people are like, hey, I just want the basics. I just want to be able to read the story. Can I go read the story and enjoy what's there? Absolutely you can, because we understand that, we know how frustrating it is for somebody that wants to go, hey, can I go pick up a Spider-Man issue and understand what's going on? No, you absolutely cannot, because you've got 8 different multiverses and a zillion different things going on, and you have to go over to some other IP to really understand what this one character is. It's far too convoluted, and there's no way to really get the full picture. And we try to make sure that you can get in it with as simple as a single issue and enjoy it, or you can go and read everything and go look at stuff online and listen to music and really be able to go deep as you possibly want into the lore and the universe that's there.
That sounds good. So yeah, I mean, you guys are doing pretty well. I mean, I'm glad that you guys are hitting it. How many days did you run this campaign?
We only ran it for 23, and it would have been shorter. It would have been 1 day shorter, but Steph decided for a very specific reason that it needed to go 1 day longer. Steph,
it's a leap year, and how many times? Okay, for every 4 years, obviously, do we get February 29th? I'm like, it would just be fun. It's a fun thing to say. It ends on February 29th. We don't get to say February 29th, but once every few years. So I just thought it was fun.
Hey, why not, right? And
yeah,
Grant says hello. Grant's a cool guy.
We'll always remember that. Always remember that it ended on a leap day.
Yeah, there you go. It's a memorable thing. Like, oh, they do something special. Oh dear. Like, there we go. Like, I think I did mine on 6/6, and I said I would have done 6/6, but there's no such thing. I think I did that.
I remember that. It's not February 30th, not February 31st, everybody. It's February 29th.
They're trying to be special. Oh, yeah, Grant, I am on this network now. That actually just happened a couple of weeks ago, so I'm very pleased about that. Oh, I had to borrow someone's laptop and keeps acting up. Sorry. That's sweet. Like I just switched network, so the amount of people that just came over to watch me is great, and the amount of interaction is awesome. And I'm very happy about that. And it's good because it does good for not only me, but you guys too. So you have a lot more eyes on this. And it's a very vibrant audience. I really like it. So it's like, I mean, God, you already had Dan share the fuck out of it on Twitter. So there you go. And this is all throughout the network right now, as well as that. I also, too, guys, if you haven't been able to catch it, at least in the description, I think I did put a Kickstarter link directly to their Kickstarter. So please take a look at that. So there.
So Christy, I got a question for you. So why don't you tell us what this is you're actually drawing right here?
I don't know, like during lunch hour, what I do is that I actually go and I just start drawing stuff randomly. Sometimes I will draw a demon bitch stuff, but I don't know. It's just like I just sit there and I start drawing.
Yeah.
And I just was kind of like thinking of, you know, I mean, that even though this is not steampunk, biomechanoids, things like that, you know, I'm kind of thinking like, yeah, thank you. Like I did do a piece of art like a long time ago with like an angel taking a heart out of her chest and she's a thyroid or whatever. But I kind of wanted, I mean, like, you know, when you, like, as you do music or any creative thing or writing or drawing, you go back 5 years or whatever. It's like, wow, okay, that's how my art was then. And I don't try to be too harsh. It's like a growth thing. So it was like, oh, okay, well, let me do a reiteration. That angel also got lost in a data wipe, which sucks ass. But I'm going to go ahead. I just decided to draw a variation of that angel to see what I learned so far. So this is kind of a sketch right now. And I always kind of like the whole Masame Shiro, like how he had his bioroids put together. So it's sort of like I'm influenced by that. And it's interesting because it looks like he kind of looks like Howie where he has the seams or where the muscle tissue is. So I've kind of like that whole streamline not yet kind of thing. That's like, if you look at, probably you'll see that more obviously in Ghost in the Shell, the original anime, and the Ghost in the Shell like manga too, because it'll actually show like the drawings and stuff like that. Oh, stretch goal $172 away, guys. Come on.
Stretch goal and a backer count goal. We make sure we have dollar numbers and we have backer count numbers as well, because we want to show people that we understand the balance between the two, because somebody could come in and give us $5,000 and be one backer. And while that's great and all that, that's not getting our story out there or any part of our story out there into people's hands. And, you know, we want people to be there along for the journey so that way they can experience the story that we create, the characters we create. So that's why we set those up. Our first backer count goal was at 100, and we had the ability to do something really special at 100. We put a PDF in there that is not only the first time it's ever going to be available in a Kickstarter campaign. Steph and I were the first Americans that ever got a chance to read it. It's from India. It's called Mardban, and it is actually a bilingual comic that's written in the dying Dakini language. And it's the first comic ever to be written in the Dakini language. And our artist from Misfits Clubhouse, Raheel Mohsen, is a co-creator on it. So we asked him, we're like, hey man, what would you think about us putting your comic in this as a stretch goal? And he's like, that sounds great. So if you back our campaign, you're guaranteed to get two things you've never read before, being our book, and guaranteed you're going to get Mardban as well that you've never read, because nobody outside of India has seen it unless you're me and Steph.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, thank you for hanging with it. It's like, oh, and Rayla, she's really a good, cool fan. She's like, I'm on it. I'll share it on my Twitter.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Guys, even if you might be kind of thin, I mean, it's good. Please give money. I'm not saying don't give money, but if you can share, that'll increase the stretch so that you'll be able to. Somebody will be out there to give money. So, hey, it all goes around and it's just as valuable. Come on, guys, you know. So, yeah, I'm very happy about that. So, yeah. Yes, Grant, it does. Like, you know, networks move around. That's all I got to say about that. So, let's see. And Catherine likes that as well. So, yeah. But yeah, no, guys, I really appreciate you guys tuning in or anything. So so what started like Heirs of Isildur? Like, what was the origin point of this, or Heirs of Isildur?
So so the origin point, there was just a story that wanted to be written. It actually started, the first initial thought came from the late Corey Steger, the original guitar player from Under Oath, and myself.
I remember that.
So that's where the origin started off. There was going to be, he was going to play a lot larger role in the musical side than he ended up playing. But he always knew it was my story. And at one point he's like, look, I want to step back a little bit from this. I don't want people to see it as Matt and Corey creating this thing, because Corey didn't create it. He's like, I don't want people to be confused. This is your thing that I'm just a part of. And I don't want people to get confused about that. And originally there were going to be two different characters that could have potentially resembled myself and Corey from a personality standpoint. And when he stepped back, that whole thing was completely changed. And we amalgamated all that into one character, which is who Michael Isildur is. And you might say, well, is that character supposed to be you because you look a lot like him? No, it's absolutely not supposed to be me.
I was wondering about that.
I got all the gear and I cosplayed the character. I sent a picture to the very first artist. Again, the also late artist, Blake Wilkie. And I said, hey, this is how I want the character to look. And he took that as, oh, you want me to draw this character to look exactly like you. That's not what I asked. But he came back and drew the character look just like me. And I was like, well, you know what? You've just made my life super easy at comic conventions for the rest of my life now because the character look worked. And we just kind of rolled with it. But yeah, so it's definitely not me in the story, but it definitely is fun to be able to cosplay as Michael and not have to put on prosthetics on my face or anything like that to look like the character.
Oh, I mean, I look nothing like Demon Bitch, but yet people call me Demon Bitch all the time. So it works itself out somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those things. But I do have another thing too. So you're both are writers and you have your artists. Like, how do you guys divvy up the writing thing? Because it's like, that's got to be interesting how you guys pony off ideas to each other. Since you were the originator, I'm guessing, right, Matt? And then how did Steph come on board and all that other stuff? Tell us that wonderful saga.
You want to start that one, Steph, and I can kind of go from there? Or?
So when Matt and I met, he was around issue 3 or so of Heirs and had kind of a timeline or like a very base outline of where he wanted the story to go. And I was really interested in the project. We were talking about it. And I had never seen anything like that it integrated metal music into the story in that way. I'd seen a lot of writers who had said, oh, here's a soundtrack, here's music by other people to listen to while you read it. But he was actually creating his own music, and it was tied to the characters in the story to get a deeper understanding of them. And I really liked that. So anyway, I ended up jumping on board once we decided that we wanted to form this LLC together, Insymmetry Creations, and write together. I jumped on board and became at first kind of like an editor, and now I'm a co-writer. So with Heirs, that's where it stands. It's his idea, his original creation, and we always make sure that we iterate that to people. But I've stepped in just kind of like how you would have a TV show that has a set of writers one season, and then another writer comes in another season. It's similar to that. So as far as our other titles we've created, because Heirs was really the first thing that Matt was working on when we met, and we've since done Tales from Nocturnia, I Am Keto, Misfits Clubhouse, which is our all ages title that we have, and those are co-written, and it differs for each title and sometimes each page by page. It's definitely, and it's hard because we're bi-coastal. He's in Florida, I'm in California, so we are on video chat every day. We're working through, I always joke on these things that Matt should be the spokesperson for Google Docs and Google Sheets but that's how you have to do it when you're not in the same room writing together all the time. You have to have shared documents, and we share them with our artists as well because they're in other countries usually. Mm-hmm. And so it differs, we go back and forth on who's kind of taking the lead in something. Matt does do a lot of the writing, but I am definitely involved in the editing process and the assisting process, and we are kind of dissecting each story and talking about where we see it going and agreeing on that together. So there's never anything that is story-wise that's completed without the other one's input in it.
Well, and the way I like to say too is we're like a 2-person writer's room where we'll discuss the different thoughts. Where do we want this thing to go? What do we want this character to do? Once we kind of agree on it, I might be the one that goes and types it onto the script. Hey, this is what we were talking about. Yeah, I think this is great. Let's take a look at the script since we have our shared document. Are we good with this? We'll edit stuff so often. Like we'll get it lettered. We'll put it onto the script. We're like, yeah, we thought this was going to be the dialogue. Now we see the art. We need to fix this because now this dialogue is too repetitive. Or the art is telling it we don't need to go and waste putting dialogue on top of it to make that work. And the other thing I like to say is the reason why we call ourselves co-writers, whether it's a story that Steph takes the lead on or I take the lead on, if you've got a pitcher and both people have a cup of water and they pour it into that pitcher, can you ever go and separate that water specifically back out to exactly the same cups that they were beforehand? No, it doesn't matter which part of the water I'm putting in. It doesn't matter which part of the water Steph's putting in. Our goal is to fill up that pitcher. And as long as we fill it up with that same goal, then we're good to go. There are times when I've got a really big focus on a section and I'll just freaking jam on it. And then we'll come back and Steph will be like, okay, let's go look at those 5 pages. Or Steph might have a really big focus on something. Hey, I really want to write a story on this. I really want to write a story with this aesthetic and kind of direct that. And if it wasn't for that direction and that aesthetic, the story never would have happened as it is. So it's not like people get that thought of, oh, well, Matt's going to type 50% and Steph's going to type 50%, or Matt's going to write one panel and then Steph's going to write the next. That sounds like a horror show to me in a not good way. That sounds completely disjointed.
Unnecessary too.
Unnecessary.
With us. I mean, maybe with other people it works, but the way that we work together, we just have our own way of doing it.
Yeah. So it's like, it's interesting because it's like when people do creative stuff, it's interesting how it splits up. Now there are some people that just write and one writes, the other one draws. The other one, like there's co-writers, there's co-artists. I don't see co-artists as much, but there's different artists per the book or whatever. So it's like, so Matt, since this is your character and you're a writer, and with Steph, like how did it, I know like I think she reached out. I think that's what she said. Sorry, I'm also like tired too. I apologize if I'm scrambling a bit. I am paying attention. I assure you guys. I actually did learn how to pay attention in class, but it's like, what made you take another writer on in that way? Like, did it just mesh that way? And you say, you know what? We bounce ideas off each other. This is fucking cool. Let's just do it. Or is it just like, I need another writer because I need another, or how did that work out? Because I know sometimes with writers, it's a very insular thing. It's a very singular thing sometimes. I mean, I write too, so I can see it. Because sometimes I'll write shit and I'm like, no, this is what I write. And I work kind of alone on that. But, you know, I'm not, that's not where I primarily got from. I'm primarily artist. As you can see, I draw. So how did that work out in a way?
So I would say that when Steph and I both met, we both were already doing our own stuff. It wasn't like Steph was just there and was like, hey, I'm looking to see if I can go find somebody to co-write with. She already was doing her own stuff. She was doing shorter comics, 1 to 2 to 8 page stories that she was getting into anthologies at the time. She was working on a graphic novel at the time, on a script for that. So we already were both doing things, and we both kind of felt like when we met that we're like, yeah, I know exactly what I want to do. And I've got all the knowledge that I need to be able to be on the path that I want to be on. And then when we met, we saw that the other person had a certain skill set that we were very weak in. And it took us kind of meshing together to realize how weak we really were in that skill set. And I'll be the first one to admit, I came from a metal music side, from a lyric writing side, from a poetry writing side, from a graphic design side. And a lot of the rules and customs of that side are the opposite of comics. And Steph came from the comic side. So I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm going to write this comic and it's going to be cool. And if you were to go back and see the original...
He was so resistant to so many things where I'm like, we just have to. He's like, there can't be, like, it was just funny because he's like, that's not how it works on CDs or metal music. I'm like, okay, but we're not doing metal music.
Right. And it took, I knew what I wanted to do and I was trying my best to do it. And if you were to go back and look at the original pressings of Crossroads Conundrum issue 1, Crossroads Conundrum issue 2, in no way, shape, or form should they ever be in a comic shop in that format, because it was basically a ebook that was turned into a prose book that had some illustrations in it. Originally, there wasn't even like a word balloon until like issue 6. It was like just pictures with text beside it and captions and narrations and things like that. So it was very organic, and it wasn't as much like, hey, we're going to split up these tasks. It was like what we do every day. We have a list of things we want to get done, and we look at the things that need to get done. Okay, well, what's going to happen there? Like I might be lettering something today. We were working on some stuff for the very next project we're doing, which we're going to announce tomorrow at about 9:05 Eastern, 6:05 Pacific in our end of campaign live stream. Right when the campaign's done, when we're take a breath, we're going to talk to you about what our next Kickstarter is going to be. We're working on some stuff for that today. You know, I might be doing the lettering. Steph's doing the editing, making sure that the dialogue was right, making sure that that there's no typos in there, so we can say, hey, the lettering's good. from an editorial perspective, it's good. And now we can cross those things off the list. We'll get to the end of the day. If there's things that we know we missed, they just become the start of the list for the next day. And we just try to attack everything that we can as hard as we can every day and make sure that whatever, I mean, it might be putting posts on Facebook. I mean, you know, Christy, as well as anybody, you might want to draw, you might want to write, but you know, half the time you don't even get to do those things. You have to do the business side of it. So we really have to go and do the business side so much every day, just so we can have time to be able to write and get our books out there to people. Because if you're not doing the business side, nobody's going to know you have stuff out there that it's worth reading or worth looking at.
Yeah, I know that too, because sometimes I've had to like mentor some artists as well. I mean, not writers as much. As I said, I do not come from that field. I'm not saying that you can't. It's just, for me, my thing is artists, because I know the artist mentality. Some of them go like, well, I have anxiety, I have this, I have that, I'm an introvert. It's like, okay, while you are dealing with those things, and again, I'm not minimizing it because I've dealt with a lot of anxiety, so I can understand. But to a point, I tell people like, look, do you want to make a living doing this? Yes. Well, you're going to have to talk to people, and it's actually not as hard as you're building it up self in your head. Like I tell people, don't be a used car salesman. Just be you. Tell them in 30 seconds what you do. Show them, interact with them. Because the thing is, if you just sit there, oh, my art will speak for itself. It's like, honey, you're one of thousands, if not millions.
Yep.
You need to kind of be heard when the person is willing to listen to you. And they're like, oh, okay. So it's like, when I put it that way, I mean, I understand, like, if they're going like, you got to sell yourself. I hated those cliches. Like, you got to sell yourself. You got to do it. It's like reading SEO articles on how to do better SEO. It's like, yeah, you got to write stuff to the subject. Okay. And what I'm learning when I'm actually taking an actual SEO class, what I'm learning, what sets this apart from somebody else, is the fact that they show you the fine tuning, like what you have to think about. It's not just, oh, you have to think about these, like, but they break it down. And that's what I find good about that. So that's the thing. You kind of have to break it down to what they understand, essentially, or the person will understand. Like, coming from an artist, I understand that. And yeah, I could say like, yeah, suck it up, whatever. I mean, whatever, we were raised to with it, but I'll just say like, look, boiled down, and this is how we just have to think in terms of our life at times. Like, what do you really want? What are you willing to do to get there? You don't have to do shitty things as you think you do to get there, but you do have to grow. You do have to push it. Like, where I was 5 years ago and who I am as a person 5 years ago is definitely not the same now. Even other people that I've known for a while have noticed that about me. But I mean, that's what you have to do. And the thing is, it will change you, but will you let it change you for the better or for the worse? Because it's like, some people go like, well, I don't want to do it, and they quit. And then they're miserable, and then they hide out. And it's like, do you want that life either? Because you really wanted to do what you wanted to do. So that's, well, I've said to people, it's like, you know, I understand, like, dealing with people, dealing with anxiety and all this sorts. It's not easy because, you know, the 24-hour news feed doesn't help. Other people histrionically reacting all the time doesn't help. But in reality, when you really talk to people, they're not as crazy as they're made out to be. They're actually pretty much like you and me. And number two, it's like, you don't need to go and put on a performance like a car salesman. Actually, that turns people off.
100%.
Like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I mean, I don't even follow up with trite things like, hey, how's it going, or whatever. It's like, or hey, how's the show? It's not that because I don't care, but it's like, I'm pretty sure they heard a million that times before. It's like, hey, how's it going? And I say something, I mean, I'll say, hey, how's it going? But we'll just talk, or I'll just simply say, hi, I write books that are angry and mean and you make you laugh. And it's like, you have to kind of put that tagline in your head so you'll repeat it 30 million times and not be bored. That's what helps me. And I tell people that. So
yeah, there's been times we did a show, and there's GeekCon that we've done for the last few years in Shreveport, Louisiana. And we had these young guys come up to our table. And, you know, this is the Deep South. They're kind of like, you know, they were your Southern boys, but they came up and we started talking to them. And Matt's very good about engaging in conversation with people and making them feel like he's known them forever. That's one of his specialties. He does it with people that come up to the booth, and just in regular life, you know, the grocery store worker or whatever. He's just always that way. And these guys said that they ended up buying something from us because they said, you're one of the few people that actually talk to us like we were human beings. We couldn't even get people to look up from their phones when we walked up to their booths, and they bought the story and they went back and they came back the next day after reading it at home and were reciting all of these little nuances and intricacies that had been written in, just totally got into the book. And that was such a rewarding thing for us, because we're like, they may have not gotten anything from us if we had just been like, hey, what's up? And didn't even look up from our phone and didn't talk to them like they were human beings.
All people really want is a conversation. That's all it is. And, there's nuances to it. Like for me, I think, for me, what kind of bothers me is when people go and, they go like, oh, well, I'm not going to go talk to anyone. And it's like, you have to adjust like how your conversational mode is with everybody else. Like Lonnie Millsap, tall, big dude, right? Gentlest guy in the world. He does the whole like big hun thing. And he's also a cartoonist for the New Yorker. But the thing is that he is so incredibly laid back because that's just who he is as a person. And he just does this. I also write the thing in this. Sorry, I'm saving this. Damn. Okay. No. Okay. Sorry. Just doing that. But it's just like, he'll like literally be like, oh, yeah. Okay. Here, why don't you take a card? Or he'll say, why don't you read this book? And he'll gently put it in people's hands. Like, it's like, here, why don't you do this? Like very conversational. But it's like this. It became at you high energy and all that because he's actually not like that person. But if he was, that might be intimidating. But for me, it's like, you've seen me, I'm kind of peppy sometimes, or I say all sorts of shit and whatever. But the thing is that that's my thing. You take your thing and you own it. Just because you're a big guy, it doesn't mean you have to be like, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm talking. Do your personality as you, but at the same time, understand like you have to pick up the skill to read a room. And some people get intimidated by that. It's like, oh, what if I fuck up? Well, that's how life is sometimes. You fuck up sometimes. And sometimes like you have to read the room until you're comfortable enough, like, oh, I get a sense that probably I shouldn't say that, so I should be quiet and stuff. And, honestly, like, there are people that have come by my table that are so tatted up and all this other shit. I'm not saying all of them. And I would think they would like it. And they're like, oh, I don't want to read that book. It's unpleasant. But then I'll have somebody that looks like he's from fucking Napa Valley in Marin County.
Yes.
Older guy, wouldn't think that he would like my book, ended up buying a ton. I even was at Long Beach Comic Con year before last, and all these big burly construction guys, looks like Southern boys, looks like, I don't want to say rednecks, but I have friends that are rednecks, so I can say that. They look kind of rednecky, or they look like they're from like they wouldn't be interested in my book. They end up buying all my books. Sweetest guys in the world. Like
that's one of the biggest
shit.
Surprises is that we tell people this and they sometimes don't believe us. We're like, one of the biggest buyers of the metal music are older people. We don't get it. We don't understand it. But we've had dudes like ride up in their little motorized wheelchairs and they're like, and we're like, we probably won't even do it anymore because I feel like it's almost like insulting to them at this point. But we always want to make sure like you realize this is like extreme metal, just so you know like what you're getting into if you buy this. And they're like, yeah, no, I don't care. I want to hear it. Right?
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, I want one of everything. Hey, that's cool, but just so you know, this one that's over here is pretty heavy. I don't care.
Well,
they just want to support you guys because I think you guys are cool. I want to support what you're doing, and that's the key. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, and also I think the thing is that we're realizing that, our old people are not the same as the old people when we were kids. Because it's like, you got to look at Rob Halford, fucking Judas Priest, the lead singer.
Yes.
That fucker's like 70 something. So you're like, oh, wait, a lot of those old people are probably into this shit as we were. So.
Exactly. They grew up in a very, very different generation than when we were kids. Those older people grew up in a very different generation.
They were our age in the 70s. Yeah, they were our age in the 70s. So it's like, okay to be into that shit. So it's like, it's been a long-standing thing. So I'm just kind of laughing about it because it's like, oh, that's my kind of age myopia. Or I don't want to say ageism, but the age myopia we have. But it's like, I mean, it's like those guys were the sweetest. And like some women I know in the industry were like, I don't want to talk to them. They wouldn't be interested in my book. It's like, have you fucking talked to them?
Yeah,
oh, no.
Don't label somebody. You never know. You never know.
Like, don't fucking stereotype them. That's shitty for you to do. It's like, but then these are the same people that go, well, they fucking stereotype me. They assume all these sorts of things. Is that maybe because you're a fucking puss? That's why.
Or the demeanor or the aura. I just feel like a lot, like the energy that you give out is what's going to make you approachable or not at a table. Yeah, like I know it's like me that way.
Yeah, like I mean, I put out a fucked up angry book, but like people look at me like, oh wow, you're pretty cool, and I talk to them.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm like overly this. It's just I just
you're
chat
just
with
you.
them. Yeah. Yeah. I just chat with them. It's like, I just talk to them like, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't try. I mean, there are times I can vibe off people. Like, yeah, but it's like,
Yes.
but it's funny because some of the people that have not liked my shit were the people that stereotypically people would say, oh, I thought they would like your shit. They're all tatted and shit. I'm like, I mean, I don't have tattoos. I mean, I'm not saying I have anything against them. I just don't. It's funny because I do like ink, but it's like this is me about tattoos. It's like I can't find an accessory for me that I would want to keep on. I would get bored of it. It's like, can I take this off now? Although some of my friends that get tats all the time say, oh, can we go and like it's like, but that's why you get more. I said, I don't really want a sleeve. It's like that's not my decision for my body, but I just think it's funny. But I mean, as I said, I appreciate that. I've seen some really massive, awesomely tattoo artists, but is it for what I do? Although I've been stereotyped too. They said, oh, I thought you would be the one with tattoos. I'm like, why would I have tattoos? Oh, you got an edge. It's like, no.
Okay, I was very confused as to like where they were going with that statement. Okay, because you have an edge.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like I mean, people expect me to have tats or something because I swear and do all these things. But it's funny because it's like Al Hatch at a point. It's like I have noticed that people are getting more and more lonely these days. It's a growing issue globally, and so it sadly stands out whenever you talk to people, even when you're trying to sell a product. Yeah, and another thing about what's not good about that is also desperation. I don't try to say, please buy my book. I'm asking, but it's not like you have to buy my book. I'm desperate. And like, yeah, I get it. Like when you're selling stuff, you want to make your money. You're just like, like inside.
I think what Al's saying too, and Alex, thank you for that comment, is, think about where we're at in communication right now. You are texting, you are in online forums, you are behind your computer screen. A lot of your interactions with people are not real life, flesh and blood, face to face. And it doesn't matter who it is. When you are physically there in front of somebody, you're going to have a different demeanor and a different body language and a different energy. And I think COVID as well. I mean, COVID forced people to have to be in their house for a year. It doesn't mean that everybody's, but I'm saying like overall, everybody was forced to be in their own little cocoon and learn how to just exist behind a computer screen. And so I think that Al's got a point there where, you can interact with people online all you want, but you have to still have something in the real world or you're going to still feel that loneliness.
Well, even with COVID, like when we were locked down in California, according to our lockdown protocol, I would go out and my form of socialization during COVID was just kind of being around people, but not being near people. Like just kind of like, okay, because I actually don't like being around crowds of people. It's not because I'm afraid of them. It's just I don't want to deal with the bullshit involved with crowds of people whenever I have to. It's just like I just want to do my thing. And especially if I'm going on an errand, just do it and go, and maintain a maximum amount of friendliness and personality or whatever I need to do just to get it done. So I would go off on early walks. So I'd be kind of around people because I'd see them pass by. So around the presence of some people, but it wouldn't be excessive to the point where it crowded in on me. And then I had close friends I just call and talk to and maybe hang out in limited quantities or something like that. But for me, like being around people, I just was okay. I'm just around people, like being around humanity in general, even though according to our lockdown, it had to be greatly reduced. But even then I just like vibed off that, so at least for me, when we went back out there, I know some people just went hardcore and just isolated themselves. Which I don't think was healthy. Yeah, like that. I don't think that was healthy overall for a lot of people, or actually people in general. I know some people had to do it more than others due to other issues, but I don't think people like allowed themselves the socialization that they could have had in terms of, because I think people think very in the box sometimes about certain things. I don't know, because of our educational system, but it's like you can vibe off people. Like I just went to the grocery store and I allowed myself to vibe off people, even though it wasn't like, oh, it was the normal thing. It was like, at least it allowed me to acclimate better into crowds of people with groups of people, rather than just be like, I'm in my room all by myself and all I talk to is my online friends. Like I kept some sort of physical association with people. And I know that sounds weird and strange with a lot of other people, and they might've been scandalized at the time, but I had to do that.
Yeah. No,
well,
I agree.
One of the things too that I really believe, and that's part of why the previous arc in Errors is called the Crossroads Conundrum. Mm-hmm. And there's a meaning behind that, is that I truly believe in, people's interactions are all about crossroads. Right now, the three of us are at a crossroad. Our paths in life have crossed, and we all are at the same place at the same time on this show. Once we get done with this show, our paths are going to go somewhere else to do something else. What are we going to do with that time that we have right now while our crossroads have met? In the Crossroads Conundrum, Michael Isildur, the main character, he has these people that are coming through these portals to him. He literally, their lives have been at this crossroads, and there is a conundrum there as to, do I try to help these people? Because if I do, it's going to potentially compromise the timeline. Or do I stop doing this, even though I know I'm helping them? So he's got a conundrum about these different crossroads where he's meeting these people. And I look at, no matter who it is, like Steph said earlier, it could be literally the janitor at GalaxyCon Raleigh. I'm a huge North Carolina State Wolfpack fan, and we were up there at GalaxyCon Raleigh, and I literally talked to the janitor for like 30 minutes just so we could talk crap about, ACC sports.
Because he was wearing like a hat or something like that. But that's how he is with anybody. I've always said, if you walk into a building, if it's the CEO or the janitor, Matt's going to treat them the same way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me who it is, and also it doesn't matter to me if it's Kevin Smith on the stage or some other, large scale celebrity doing the Scream panel. When we're on that stage, that is our crossroad, because when we get off that stage, our goal is that everybody enjoyed themselves and they want to go learn more about the people on the stage. So at that point, that's our crossroad. I may never have another crossroad with Kevin Smith after being on the stage with him, but while we're there, we are equals and we have the same purpose. So what are we going to do with that crossroad? And that's how I try to approach every interaction with people that we come across, how I try to approach every interaction at a show or online, because you don't know what kind of impact and what kind of effect you're going to have on that person. Right. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you are taking the best opportunity to have the best impact on that person that you possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so it's like, for me to keep mentally healthy, I was aware, like, you have to go socialize a little bit, because the thing is, they've actually done studies where people have been in isolation and it has fucked them up. They've done that with animals that are most similar to our genetic makeup. It has fucked them up. It has literally, and I know people get pissy like when I say this word, but it actually did slow down. It did retard their growth in boundaries, in any sort of interaction, even intelligence.
You need that mind stimulation in some ways.
Well, we're social creatures. And the thing is that there's only online could take so much. Only this could take so much. Mm-hmm. You have to have human touch and interaction. So it's like, and again, I'm not trying to say that, you shouldn't go around touching people with our, no, I mean, there's definitely levels. Like, I understand patting somebody on the back or on the shoulder, but I never understood, because I had friends that complained about it from all ethnicities. Like, they would go up, like somebody would just go up and start touching their hair. And I'm like, to me, that's kind of gross. Not that my friend is gross or their hygiene is terrible, but it's like
your personal space. I've had that happen before because I've got naturally curly hair, and I've had strangers that have touched my hair, and I'm like, ew, what are you doing?
That's really weird to me, because it's like, I don't want to, like, even if they're my friend, I wouldn't be like, oh, hey, like, I know you guys.
I'm not in the business of touching people's hair, like, even if it's my friends. So strangers doing it, I've had it happen, and even as a kid, of course, things were different back then. But as a kid, I would have, with my curly hair, to have strangers touch my hair. Oh, she has such pretty hair. I just
never understood that mentality, but I think maybe, but even then, I still can't understand that, because, like, even in our generation, like, even though the boundaries were different and all that other stuff, it was just, I could never understand it. But I think because, like, when you're a kid, like our age range, I think a lot of the schools got hit with head lice. So it was kind of like, it's like we can touch each other, but not like on our hair. Yeah. So maybe, but it just mystifies me that I can just go up to a total stranger or a friend even and just touch their hair. To me, that's a very intimate thing. That's like family or a partner, like your mom, like she brushes your hair, you're used to that. Or your boyfriend or husband or girlfriend like touches your hair. I get that. But to have a friend say, oh, let me touch your hair. Like, the only time I would ever touch my friend's hair is like, oh, you got some, can I?
Right, exactly. That's a little different. But it's like, always been a boundary. Crossing things just a little.
Yeah, I just think, as I said, I find that weird that people would just touch somebody's hair out of no provocation or out of nowhere. Like, I don't know where your fucking hair has been. I mean, you might have the most beautiful head of hair, but it's like, I don't want to fucking touch it. I don't know you. I don't know what you do with it.
You don't know the last time it's been washed.
Yeah, but it's not, I mean, I don't want to say cleanliness is my forefront. I just find it weird that, and again, I'm not blaming you or anybody. I just find that weird that people
Absolutely.
would just go out of the way and do that. It's like,
Yeah.
why are you like, the acceptable zones of touching to me are like shoulder and upper back,
Yeah,
but
that's
not
you get
these.
any lower and it
Yeah,
gets
like
too
maybe mid back is
personal.
borderline, but it's like
Yes.
shoulder or arm, fine,
Mm-hmm.
friendly hug, whatever. But it's
Yeah.
just weird to me how people are going like, let me touch your hair. It's like, who are you? Like
Yep.
it's I guess also like back in
And
the
there.
day, like people would yank each other's hair like in a fight. So I think it's
Yeah.
like probably like, don't fucking touch me, man. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's kind of like, I guess cats, like how some cats, like when you try to touch them in a certain area, like, no,
Yeah. Their belly, they're like, nope.
or even if you try to touch them on the like their back, some of them get
Mhm.
pissed off. They're like, no. Or you try to touch them in the head if they go like this or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, look, irony is people need to relearn skills across in kids' TV like Fraggle Rock. It's like, I love the smell of wood and grass. Yeah. Oh, Twitch got mad at me for apparently drawing boobies, by the way. So
Oh,
Oh.
3-day, whatever. They suck anyway. But I'm just like, that's like an android. That's like the barest thing of anything. So it's like, typically with I'm still a shop worker, and despite any, I'm just re-putting this up as in context. And it says, a few, despite ending a career for my grandmother along with it, have been able to outright state that people had a huge blow to socializing, typically with personal boundaries, and not many have recognized it in themselves, especially physical ones. Humans are social animals to agree in ruins as a species to be denied it. Okay. What would be telling those people, old school people, and underestimate the power behind it? Shut up. Sorry. I'm tired of Windows notifications. Some people understand, some underestimate the power. They don't get, if I inhale the scent of summertime, no invitation to hop right in there. It could mean thunder, and it got cut off. So sorry, guys. Sorry, Katrin. But yeah, but I already put that up in there. But yeah, so it's interesting. We got into the thing about hair touching too. Now
I
just
know.
socialization.
well, I can tell
Never
you one
know
of
what's
the
going to segue in.
I can say one of the interesting things too, especially when we came out of COVID, even to this day. Um, I'm a soccer official and I live in Florida, and Florida, as we all know, no surprise, came out of COVID protocols much earlier than the rest of the country. The first comic convention in the country that was back, that actually basically made the blueprint for every convention with hand sanitizing and social distancing, was in Florida. I was back refereeing soccer games. The reason I bring this up was there was protocols to how you were supposed to interact with the teams, from referees to officials. They literally were like, teams are not allowed to shake hands. Teams could just like wave at each other after the game. They couldn't go through a handshake line. And as referees, we got used to just fist bumping and not handshaking. And even to this day, it's weird when a player who just was sweaty wants to shake my hand after a game. It still
I've noticed that too, that I
weirds me
still
out.
get a little weird about shaking hands. And I
Yeah,
was
it's
never
still,
that
yeah.
way before.
It
It's like,
still weirds me out, because I think about it. I'm like, if I'm just, hitting knuckles with somebody, I'm not taking the sweaty inside of a hand and transferring a surface. Like, I'm not going to go and wipe the side of my mouth with the back of my hand, and I'm only going to wipe it with the inside of my hand. And I'm like, now I understand so much more how germs were back in the day. And this, I mean, it's not how it is anymore, but it's just like, I mean, we're back to like normal protocols. But even nowadays, it's really weird for me to like, people just want to go up and shake hands after they're all sweaty. I'm like, no, let's just fist bump,
that sounds well, and it's just there's always going to be lingering things that I think are never going to go away. And the way that I always compare it to is what we saw our grandparents doing, who lived through the Great Depression, our great grandparents, or whatever generation you're in. Our older relatives lived through the Great Depression, and there are some habits that even when we were in a flourishing economy, that they just couldn't let go of. Just, they kind of were a little bit more, you saw a little bit more of the hoarding, you saw a little bit more of the looking for discounts and hoarding food and keeping that. It was just, they were just programmed during that period of time to be that way. And I think that we're going to be that way to an extent with some of the COVID things. And COVID was a much shorter window of time, but it still is leaving its mark on us. And I notice I use hand sanitizer a lot more, and I'm very much more aware of that kind of thing. And I think that's just going to be our legacy for at least a little while, if not forever, that our kids and grandkids are going to notice, oh, grandma just likes the hand sanitizer or whatever,
I actually personally hate hand sanitizer, but I think it's just because you can dry out the skin and therefore your dermal shielding, because the skin is an organ, guys. Yeah, science here. But it's just like it also, I have some kind of sensitive skin. And also personally, I hate a smell of some of the hand sanitizer that came out. Like most of them that were okay, but some of them
smelled like straight vodka. And you're like, what is this?
To me, it wasn't vodka. It smelled like burning brake pads or something like that.
Yeah, forget that.
It was bad.
That's why I actually didn't put hand sanitizer a lot and just washed my hands. To me, that was healthier, just because also like there's bacteria resistant hand sanitizers and shit like that. So I just said, I'm just going to wash my hands. I
did a lot of traveling through the pandemic, and especially at hotels and major chains that were just ordering hand sanitizer in bulk off the internet. I'd be like, I think this is tequila. I was just like, I don't know
what that smells like, but it was like just weird. It was weird to me. It was just the same in Germany, no pun intended. People keep that in their DNA.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I just was able for myself to acclimate back into regular stuff pretty easily, is that I kind of knew what mode to switch out of. And there were certain things I didn't do. And as I said, I did other things more of, like washing my hands. I find that healthier and it's better for your skin and you get more of the shit off. For me also, hand sanitizer has another gross sort of accompaniment. It's like you go to an outdoor concert and they run out of the soap and water to wash their hands from the porta potties. And you're like, you don't want to go around with. Yeah. So it's like next best thing, hand sanitizer. Like this will kill everything. But that's my association in outdoor events. But it was just like, it's just like, I don't know. I just, some of the, I have some hand sanitizer at my house. I have used it, but it's not my first choice because, as I said, some of the hand sanitizer I ran into was just smelled so bad. It was just like,
oh yeah.
It was like, what the fuck am I putting? And I guess there was this scandal too. Like they were making it out of, there was people made so much hand sanitizer. There was an actual alcohol shortage or something at some point.
Yes.
Yeah. So they were making it out of more toxic shit. So I'm like, no. And if it smelled really weird, I was like, no, this is sus. Forget it. And I just decided to just wash my hands. Yeah. I also actually got a couple of dermal lotions that are, if you're elderly or something, or otherwise immunocompromised, which I'm not, but you can put it on. It's got a zinc layer, and that's antibacterial too. So I found that better. And usually those lotions were harder to wash off because they're designed to protect if you don't have a normal dermal layer or whatever. So I got more high tech than anything. I'm still laughing at how Twitch just suspended.
Twitch is like them removing the part. Yeah, you can still tell what it is, but
it's it's not really boobies, it's a android. So
even so, she could be wearing a bikini top. You never know. She'd be wearing a one-piece bathing suit. I mean, it's
yeah. Not... sometimes that shit still shows through a little bit.
Exactly.
Right.
That is true.
Whenever I'm wearing a bikini, it shows through.
Maybe I should write to them and say they're misogynistic. Be an asshole. Never mind. And then, hey, I'm suspended right now. It'll probably be back on next lunch hour, but I have 3 days. But I'm like, all right, well, it wouldn't be demon bitch without some sort of shenanigans going on. So anyway, I'm gonna go throw this up there. Do you guys have any parting comments or anything like that?
The only thing we'd say is, hey, we just we are at the end of this campaign. We want to try and finish strong. We know the economy is tough. We know that it's hard to come off entertainment dollars. And if you invest your time and your money in the things that we're doing, we're confident that you're going to get a product that you are going to be able to feel like is time and money well spent. We absolutely put a lot of care and concern and time into our stories. There's definitely is going somewhere. We as writers and as watchers of entertainment can't stand it when you're watching something and then you realize partway through that they have no clue where they're going. You're like, I just wasted time and mental energy on this thing. It went nowhere. And we don't ever want somebody to feel that our stuff, we know it definitely is going somewhere. There's going to be some satisfying conclusions, and you really are going to be able to get lost in this story. So whether it's a share, whether it's a back, whether it's, collectibles that you want to get, anything that's out there. We appreciate anything that you can do. We've got a dollar amount stretch goal at 4,000. We've got another backer count incentive at 150. And if we make both of those, there are more stretch goals and more backer count incentives that can come as well. So we hope that you will join us within the next 28 hours, because we definitely feel like you are going to feel like it's money and time well spent if you do.
Awesome. So guys, also here's another thing too. I forgot to do this at the beginning of the show. This is about just my own self promo, but guys, please back Isildur. I just threw down the link down here. I'll do it again because you guys got to do it. But just as a heads up, I will also be doing 2 events. One this Saturday. It's called the Explore Fair. It's for STEM. It's in Paris, California. It'll be at Valverde High School. Check it out right there. It'll be for a few hours. I'll be drawing and doing this typical thing, like showing kids how to draw and stuff. And I might have some Demon Bitch books. And then I have another one where I'm doing a Women's Day thing over at Collector's Paradise. I will be at the Pasadena location. And the current lineup actually is not Jody Hauser. It's actually a couple other people, but I have no idea how to come. Here we go. I uploaded the wrong one. Let me take off this one. It's this guy right here, where it's basically I'll be with Barbara Dillon. We all know Barbara, right, from Fanbase Press. Corina Bechko and Olivia Quartero Briggs. I hope I did not maul that. I will be there. And if you visit all 3 of the stores in that hour of 11 to 2, if you're in the California area, SoCal area, take a look. I've actually thrown a couple of goodies in our goodie bag, but you only get it if you visit all 3 stores.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you don't get the goodie bag. Sorry, guys. You need to show how much of a nerd you are. But anyway, yeah. But thanks for showing up, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's been a fun show. I mean, we went to almost an hour and a half, so that barely went by as nothing. But it's always good to have you guys. I hope you get more backers. I think you should. Hopefully, you'll get to that $4,000 mark. That would be nice. You just want to have that little mini goal right there. But I'm glad that people have shared it. So, guys, please check it out. I put the link up on there. Please check it out. Share it to your friends. Share it to your dog if you think he'll go and contribute. I know. But you guys, I'll be there next week. I don't know what guest I'll have, or I'll just be drawing more stuff that will probably get me banned on Twitch. But anyway, but you guys take care. And it's so good to have you guys. Please check them out. Let me go put their Bandcamp up on here too, because you got to check out the music and shit. So go ahead and check out their Bandcamp. Support them. Heirs of Isildur is the band name. So it's up there. It's the same thing as the Kickstarter. If you wanted to hear a sample other than on Bandcamp and Spotify, go in the Kickstarter. Look at everything. They're offering a lot. So please do that. And you guys, I will see you next week. Noon Pacific Standard Time, same bat time, same bat channel. DC, don't come after me and sue my ass. And I will see you later. Please support these guys. They've got only 28 hours left. So make it happen. Make it the leap year happen. All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
You take care, and I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See ya.